Good evening, free thinkers, and welcome to the Hodcast. Okay, we have just had the election in the United Kingdom where the Conservatives won with a resounding majority, what you could call, in essence, a landslide victory. Not only against the Labour Party, who were their main opposition, but every other party combined, in essence. So today we are going to look at exactly why they lost, the real reasons, not what you're going to get from the BBC, the mainstream media narrative. We're going to look at the reasons on the street, on ground level, why the Conservatives won with such a majority and why the Labour Party is such a toxic political movement in Britain at the moment, and what will happen now with the Labour Party. So we're going to discuss all of that. But first, by all means, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like, because that really helps me out. Okay, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first thing we are going to start with is, of course, the election results in terms of percentages, seats, and who won what in the overall picture. And we can see that the Conservatives are way out in front with 364 seats. The Labour Party barely managed to get 200. I am not a fan of Jeremy Corbyn, and I'm not a fan of the Labour Party in any way, shape or form. And to be honest, there was a little part of me that wanted to see them get just below 200, maybe 189, 190, something like that. That would have made me chuckle. Now, you can see here that in the count in terms of numbers of votes per se, the Conservatives are on almost 14 million. The Labour Party's just scraped 10 million. Again, barely. If it had been under 10 million, then it would have been even worse for them. The Scottish National Party kind of swept the board in Scotland, but we knew that was going to happen anyway. They are very pro Scottish nationalism. Now, as an aside, you could go on there and say that it is strange how the British National Party is considered racist, but the Scottish National Party is not considered racist. The left, and make no mistake about this, the Scottish National Party are as far left as they come. And these are the same people, the same hypocritical leftists who will tell you and me that the word nationalist is racist, and anybody who is a nationalist is racist. Yet when it comes to Scottish nationalists and Scottish nationalism, all of a sudden that's good. That's a good thing, you see. And the reason why that's a good thing, because they're against England. And the left love anything that is against anything to do with Anglo-Saxon heritage, anything to do with England, anything that is Anglo in general. Sweeping down the board, we have the Liberal Democrats from the likes of Joe Swinton, who managed to score 11 seats. I actually think that, and not only that, okay, now they got over 3.5 million votes, which is almost, in fact, it's pretty much 3 times what the Scottish National Party got. Yet the Scottish National Party get over 4 times the numbers of seats that the Liberal Democrats got. Which is, I mean, you can make an argument against first past the post system based on that. That would certainly help the smaller parties, such as Liberal Democrats and all of the others going down the board. It certainly would not help the 2 main political parties. Further down we have Sinn Féin, which of course scored very good in the pro-Republican areas of Northern Ireland. We have Plaid Cymru, which is the Welsh, for those of my viewers in the United States and elsewhere, they are the Welsh Nationalist Party. So again, there's nothing wrong with Welsh nationalists, that's fine. It's just a problem if they're British nationalists, or for example, there's a little known party, the English Democrats, which are an English nationalist party, and guess what? They're labelled racist too. We'll move on from that one. We have the Green Party, who have their 1 seat. They have wavered on and off between 1 seat and 2 seats and 0 seats over the last decade or so. They usually have their power base around Brighton and Hove, which is a very left-wing, very progressive area. And now, this is the big one. Brexit Party, with just over 500,000 votes, and they got 0 seats. Now, this is going to be the main crux of my video here, in that people have to stop trusting the mainstream politicians, mainstream media as well, but this is to do with politics. You have to stop trusting them. And the UKIP party, their vote has collapsed. They've just gone down the pan. Completely gone down the pan. Now, with the Brexit party, we did have a case where the leader, Nigel Farage, actually instructed people to vote tactically, to vote for the Conservatives, to stop Jeremy Corbyn getting into power. And that has obviously paid dividends for the Conservatives, but it hasn't paid dividends for the Brexit party, has it? See, this is a problem. I respect Nigel Farage, but the problem Nigel Farage has, and the problem that he has had for some time, is that he should know better. He should know not to trust mainstream mainstream Conservatives. He should know that. The Conservative Party are not real Conservatives. They are fake Conservatives. They are just blue liberals. That's all they are. To be a Conservative, you have to conserve at least something. The Conservative Party conserves nothing. The Conservative Party are all for progressivism, for left-wing liberalism. They love it. They're all for it. Now, we voted to leave the European Union years ago, and it still hasn't happened yet. We have had a Conservative government all through that time with a majority, and they still haven't done it. Boris Johnson could leave the European Union at any moment he chooses to, but he chooses not to. It just takes balls, basically. It just takes courage. It takes steel nuts. Just say no to them. We should be throwing our lot in with those people outside the European Union, like the United States of America and Australia, etc., etc. The European Union is controlled by Marxists. The United Nations and the European Union are the two twin engines of the globalist movement, and neither of those two organisations or institutions are good for the people. They've done nothing to benefit anyone. When was the last time you heard of the United Nations stopping any major or even minor conflict? Doesn't happen, does it? It has never happened. The main problem the Brexit Party have is that they are trusting the Conservatives far too much. Brexit could have been done before. It could have been done years ago, but they're holding out for something. And let me tell you what they're holding out for. They know that the majority of the people that voted for Brexit are generally older, white, working class people. They're holding out to literally wait for those people to either die or become disillusioned with politics, because they know that the bulk of the Labour Party support and the bulk of the Labour Party electorate in this election, by the way, they are also the people who voted to remain in the European Union, are young, left-wing university students and Marxist types, green types. They're the ones who voted for Jeremy Corbyn. They're the ones who voted to remain in the European Union. And they are trying to hold out for as long as possible and hopefully to get any way possible a second vote. Because if that happens again, despite what you may have heard in the polls, I can assure you, one way or another, the vote would be to remain within the European Union, which I thoroughly disagree with. Now, getting on to Jeremy Corbyn, let me delve deeper into just why the electorate were deeply turned off by Jeremy Corbyn. And bearing in mind, Jeremy Corbyn lost loads of seats in the Labour heartlands, which is traditionally in the north of England, working class areas, because they know, they can see it. They're not stupid. The problem with mainstream politicians is they think people are stupid. Okay, especially working class people like you and me. They think we're idiots. They think we're stupid. Okay, but people are not stupid, and they have seen that the Labour Party bearing in mind, Labour just means work. The Workers' Party, the Labour Party, they don't support workers anymore. They're all for affluent middle class types. Okay, so we're about to get on to Jeremy Corbyn and just why so many people turned off from him and didn't accept his message. But beforehand, I wanted to show you the election results in the map, and this is the election results so far. They're pretty much all in. And here we have, you can see in Scotland here, it is pretty much all Scottish National Party with some of the Liberal Democrats, and surprisingly enough, we have a few Conservative. Now, the reason why Conservatives don't generally do too well in Scotland is because the British Conservative Party is very closely associated in Scotland with England. And there's a lot of anti-English sentiment in Scotland, which isn't considered racism for some reason. If in England, if it was the other way around, the whole world would be exploding. You know the score. So we get to England. Now, this is northern England. Here you can see, around here you can see northern England. Now, for decades, after working class people got the vote, they would of course vote Labour. The Tories obviously tried very hard to stop working class people like me and you getting the vote. We were considered too stupid to know what we wanted, too stupid to make decisions for the country, even though we are the least naive people in Great Britain. The most naive people in this country are left-wing, middle class, upper middle class, just progressives. They don't know what they know that they're progressing towards something, they just don't know what it is, and the goalposts are continuously changing. Now, here you see all of this would have been red, all of it, for decade after decade after decade. All of this would have been red, but you can see there's just here around Newcastle and South Shields, there's a little Labour enclave. But bearing in mind, you have to remember that even there, Labour haven't done too well. It's not... In some places, they only won by fractions of percentage points. And we go further down. This is North Yorkshire, still considered the north of England. And again, it would have all been red. Working class, thoroughly working class areas. Further into the heartland of England, around the centre, the Welsh borders, and East Anglia. This is where my own constituency is there. That's where I'm from, Peterborough. And we voted Conservative. I didn't vote Conservative. I voted Brexit Party. I'm not going to listen to the leader of the Brexit Party, Nigel Farage, saying to vote tactically. This is democracy. I am not voting for someone I do not want to lead the country. It's as simple as that. And we can see how it's just swathes of blue. The green here is the Welsh nationalists. And here in London, you can see is pretty much all Labour. London, affluent. It's that strange combination of the children or descendants of migrants who escaped from countries that were decimated through corruption and large government, and they come to Western countries such as Britain and they immediately vote for the parties, the political parties that are going to offer the exact same thing that they were running away from. We see this again all across the Western Hemisphere. We see it again all across the Western Hemisphere. And what's happening in London, you have a strange alliance between these people, the migrants, the people who have got British citizenship, and asylum seekers who have been given British citizenship, and all of a sudden they can vote. And the alliance between them and the affluent white progressives, middle class people who habitually fall victim to crimes committed by their so-called friends, their so-called allies. But they wave it off. In fact, they even blame themselves. They say it's their own fault for being so affluent, for being this, for being that. But that's beside the point. We're getting off of the subject matter here, which is, of course, the 2019 general election. So London's red. London is... These are the Labour Party affluent they call them the chattering classes. The middle class busybodies. And then further down to the south of England, again, it is all blue. Now, the reason why this is happening is because people are continuing to trust in Boris Johnson, essentially. He's like a one-man band within the Conservative Party. They are trusting this man to deliver Brexit. And he has to do it now. Before Boris Johnson, we have had not one, but two Conservative Prime Ministers. Theresa May, who was billed as the second coming of Margaret Thatcher, which was ludicrous. I knew straight away. Rubbish. Absolute hogwash. She resigned in disgrace because it turned out, like I knew, like I predicted, she's a wet rag. And David Cameron, who sided with everyone, including Barack Obama, including Donald Tusk, including Jean-Claude Juncker, including Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF. He sided with everyone over his own people, over his own electorate who wanted to leave. And in the referendum, what did they do? They voted to leave. And the overall majority of the people who voted to leave were disenfranchised Labour voters, yes, but also working class Conservative voters. He had to leave in disgrace. And if Boris Johnson does not deliver Brexit and doesn't do it quick, he will be the third British Conservative Prime Minister in a row to resign, and that would be unprecedented. Now, Jeremy Corbyn, as I said, I would get on to him. Now here you can see him, Jeremy Corbyn, in a photo with Gerard McLaughlin, who was an IRA bomber. Now, the IRA targeted the United Kingdom in terrorist attacks, much in the same way that in the modern era, Islamic extremists attack Britain in the same way. Now, I'm sure you probably don't need me to tell you that this is exactly why he was just not an option for the vast majority of the ordinary, decent United Kingdom people. The electorate. Now, I'm currently making a video in which I'm dedicating it entirely to why the public were completely turned off by Jeremy Corbyn. And as you can see here, it is this type of antics which just turn people off. Who in their right mind is going to vote into power a friend of the terrorists? Nobody's going to do. Why would somebody do that? Here, as you can see in the bottom of your screen there, that is the bus that Mr. Gerard here bombed. Okay, and Corbyn's an ally of this man. Not only that, Corbyn is an ally of Hamas, he's an ally of Hezbollah. Basically, anyone who is against the United Kingdom, he's for it. This is the man who refused to sing the national anthem. People aren't stupid, okay? And one thing that working class people have always been, and the middle class leftist progressives have always hated it and looked down on us for it, is our patriotism. They really do not like our patriotism. They can't abide it. They can't stand it. Now, I'm currently making that video that will address Jeremy Corbyn and why he was so thoroughly rejected by the majority of the British electorate. And I'll leave that there because this video's gone on long enough. Thank you very much for watching if you made it this far. I'll have that video tomorrow. Tune in then for it. Jeremy Corbyn, it'll just be about Jeremy Corbyn and why the electorate do not like him. Thank you very much to my friends. Thank you to Mark O'Sullivan. Thank you to Dennis, Jason and Mark Judge at English Resistance. You guys are great. Can't wait to meet you next month. And don't worry, Eyewitness News, my girl from New York, USA, I'm on it. Don't worry, we're in conversation. We will get a video going very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.